What's up, you guys? Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to learn more about progression, specifically the 3 different ways that you can be progressing in the gym. I really want to be able to teach you this information so that when you're in the gym, you know what and why you're doing things and not just there going through the motions. This can help you, first of all, feel more motivated because you know why you're doing things, which is a huge psychological motivator. But also, you're going to be able to teach other people this information if you take decent notes and you can remember this stuff, and you can really help someone else who's on the beginning of their fitness journey. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. The first way of progression is progression through reps, also known as reps in reserve. Now, reps in reserve can be known as reps left in the tank, aka, let's say that you hit 135 for 10 and you feel like you could have hit 13 if you went all the way till failure. That's 3 reps in reserve. Now, the reason that we used reps in reserve is because it protects someone from always going till failure. Because the truth is that you don't want to always train till failure. You don't. I'm going to talk a little bit more in a different lecture as to why that's the case. But in really simple terms, if you go to failure all the time, your fatigue is going to build up so much that you're not going to recover and you're not going to make progress. And that should be the biggest thing right there. You're not going to make progress if you're always going to failure every single time, or you will until you hit a massive wall. So the way that this works is that every single week of a mesocycle should be getting closer to failure, which means that you should be adding repetitions every single time. So for example, let's say on week 1 of your mesocycle, week 1 of your phase, you hit a 135-pound bench for 10 reps and you had 3 reps in reserve. That means that week 2, you should be able to hit that same 135-pound bench for 2 reps in reserve. Then week 3 for 12 reps with 1 rep in reserve. And then week 4, it's going to be 13 reps with 0 reps in reserve. The reason that we do this is because after this mesocycle is over, when we start the next one, we're going to be able to start at a higher base point, if you get what I'm saying. For example, now we're in week 5 and we're going to go back to using 3 reps in reserve, but we should be able to hit that 135 for maybe 11 to 12 reps to start off. And then we're going to keep accumulating. So the goal of this is that you don't just hit that wall and you keep progressing. So this chart, it might look slower in the beginning. And maybe in the beginning you go to failure every single time and you make a massive amount of progress, but then you're just going to stall out because you're going to hit that fatigue wall, right? But if you do it the right way with the reps in reserve, you'll just slowly keep increasing without hitting that wall, which is our goal. That's the first one. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. I hope I explained it decently well here. The second way is progression in load, aka the amount of weight that you're putting on the bar. This is probably the most reliable source of progression because, of course, if you're hitting more weight, you're getting stronger and you're most likely going to be looking better as well because you're going to be putting on more muscle, clearly. But the important part about this, though, is that when you are adding the load, you stay in the desired rep range. You don't want to just be hitting 135 for 10 reps and then boom, 185 for 2 reps. You don't even know if you're getting better. You have to be able to have a good source of measurement. So stay in the rep range. And let me kind of give an example here. Let's say week 1, you hit a bench of 135 pounds for 10 reps with 3 reps in reserve. Same as the last one. But then week 2, let's say you feel great, your training's going amazing, your recovery's going amazing. You hit that same 135-pound bench, and you're supposed to be hitting it for 11 reps of 2 reps in reserve. But you hit it for 11 reps, and you feel like you had 3 to 4 left in the tank. So, of course, in that case, you want to add maybe 5 to 10 pounds so that you can hit that 11 reps with 2 reps in reserve. Now, this is, of course, going to be extremely subjective, and it's not going to be perfect. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. But if you can use your own intuition and train smartly, you'll be able to know when it's an appropriate time to add this weight and not do it without expensing good form, which is our last point. Do not add weight at the expense of good form. Please, it's embarrassing for yourself, but also you're just going to hurt yourself in the gym. The truth is that if you can just always train with good form, you're going to get stronger over time than doing bad form. The reason for this is because it's very similar to the reps in reserve example, right? Let's say you're training with bad form and your squat just skyrockets right off the bat because you have bad form and you're just hitting it, right? But then you're going to hit a wall where all of a sudden that bad form can't get you any farther and you're going to flatline. But if you have good form, you slowly learn things, you're just going to keep getting better and you're not going to hit that wall like you will if you just do the bad form. So please do not ever train with heavier weight at the expense of good form. I hope that made sense. I hope I explained it well. And again, if you have any questions, please do let me know. Then the third and final way of progression is going to be progression in sets. Now, we're going to be talking from like a mesocycle to mesocycle basis. Let's just talk about a 4-week period. You want to start your mesocycle in around the minimum effective volume or the bottom of the maximum adaptive volume. The reason for this is because you want to be able to progress in sets as you go through a mesocycle. You don't want to start at your max adaptive volume, your max recoverable volume, because then you can't go anywhere from there. But the way that this should look is that week 1, let's say you're hitting about 10 sets of chest or 8 sets of chest in total. By week 4, you should be hitting like 12 sets of chest in total. The amount of sets that you're doing should go up. So imagine, let's just think about this. Imagine if you're doing more reps in week 4, you're doing more sets in week 4, and you're lifting heavier weight in week 4. That means that you're going to get better and you're going to look better and feel stronger, which is why we do this. We want to progress in every single way. I hope that makes a lot of sense to you guys, because when I make my training programs, I want you to progress. I don't want you to just be going through the motions and hoping that it works. No, I want you to see progression in every single way. That's why we're doing this. Now, second point, as I said, you want to add sets every single week until you hit the top range of your MAV, your maximum adaptive volume, or the bottom range of the MRV, which is the maximum recoverable volume. This allows, just like the other two, for long-term muscle growth, because you'll always be in the range that promotes good muscle growth and has a good muscle growth to recovery ratio. If you're always training till failure, you're always doing a bunch of sets, the amount of fatigue is going to be way bigger than the amount of growth. And guess what that means? You just eat away your own muscle, you eat away your own gains, and you don't make any progress. You might make progress at first, but you're going to hit that wall. And that's why I see so many people hit that wall. And I know you do too. And you've probably experienced hitting the wall, because I know I have. Now, mesocycles, like I said, are going to start with lower volume and they're going to get increasingly harder. And I just kind of want to touch on this graph right here, because I think it displays things very well. Now, these numbers on the bottom where it says 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 9, and then 10 plus, these are not exact, okay? Because all the muscles have a different amount of volume when it comes to the maximum recover volume, MAV, MEV, MV, right? So don't really worry about the numbers on the bottom. But it makes a lot of sense, right? That if you're doing too little of sets, you're obviously not going to get that much stimulus. If you're doing too much sets, you're going to start experiencing that downward of the graph, where you're the tipping point that they called it, where you're actually hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself. But if you're right in that sweet spot, doing just the good amount of volume, where it's right at the bottom, like let's say if it's 7 sets and it's right at optimal stimulus, and you end at 9 sets or 10 sets, you're still in the optimal stimulus. That's how you get the optimal amount of growth, which is what we're looking for. Like I said, we're looking for progression. We're not just looking to do the most amount of work up front, do good for 1 to 2 months, and then crash. All right? That's the point of all this. I hope this lecture, though, made a lot of sense. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to learn about progression so that you know what and why you're doing things. And I hope this motivates you to keep progressing, keep getting better in the gym, and also just have some information that you can use to help other people. Again, thank you for taking the time. Please do text me, call me, whatever, if you have any questions about this stuff. I think it's very important that you understand it. Yeah, have a good one, and thank you guys again.